listen the recording from the Neet Prep, December 24, 2023. Question number 1, biology section. What would not be true for the structure of a polynucleotide chain? Answer is the nitrogenous bases linked to phosphate moiety project from the backbone. Next one, all the following are features of the human genome except scientists have identified about 4.1 million locations where single base DNA differences, SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphism, pronounced as SNPs, occur in humans. Next one, a molecule that can act as a genetic material must fulfill all the following criteria except it should provide the scope for rapid changes, mutation. Next one, consider the given two statements. Assertion is here. Viruses grown in the presence of radioactive phosphorus contain radioactive proteins but not radioactive DNA. Reason, DNA contains phosphorus but protein does not. Assertion is false here but reason is true here. Next, identify the incorrectly matched pair. The incorrectly matched pair is here, mu into 174 matched with 5386 base pair. This is the incorrectly matched. Next one, BAC and YAC have been used in cloning fragments of DNA in sequencing the human genome. Next one, the central dogma in molecular biology. Answer, only two statements are given here. Right is second only states that the genetic information flows from DNA, then RNA, and then protein. Next, regarding comparison of DNA and RNA, DNA is preferred for storage of genetic information. For the transmission of genetic information, RNA is better. Listen once again, DNA is preferred for storage of genetic information. For the transmission of genetic information, RNA is better. Clear? Or listen once again all the question again. Regarding comparison of DNA and RNA, DNA is preferred for storage of genetic information, and for the transmission of genetic information, RNA is better. Next is assertion. Reason, assertion, in prokaryotes such as E. coli, the DNA is scattered throughout the cell. Reason, prokaryotes such as E. coli do not have a defined nucleus. Assertion is false here but reason is true here. Next, regarding nitrogenous bases present in DNA and RNA, four statements are given here and only first, third and fourth are correct here. Listen, first, cytosine is common for both DNA and RNA. Third is given here, thymine is present in DNA, and fourth, uracil is present in RNA at the place of thymine. These three statements, first, third and fourth statements are correct here. Next, the discontinuously synthesized fragments on the lagging strand of DNA are later joined by the enzyme. Answer is DNA ligase. Next, the main enzyme involved in DNA replication is referred to as DNA dependent DNA polymerase, since it uses a DNA template to catalyze the polymerization of deoxyribonucleotides. Next, the lac operon consists of one regulatory gene, the I gene, where the term I refers to inhibitor. The genetic material in QB bacteriophage is ssRNA. Which of the following act as a catalyst for the formation of peptide bonds in bacterial translation? Answer is 23S rRNA. Next one, the unequal proof that DNA is the genetic material came from the experiments of answer Alfred Hershey and Martha Chase. Next one, consider the given two statements. Statement 1, the nucleotide composition of DNA varies among species, i.e. the same nucleotides do not repeat in the same order. Statement 2, in dsDNA, no matter what organism or tissue type it comes from, the amount of adenine A is usually similar to the amount of thymine T, and the amount of guanine G usually approximate the amount of cytosine C. Statement 1 is correct here and statement 2 is correct here. Both statements are correct here. Next, consider the given assertion. Reason is here. Assertion, if each strand from a dsDNA acts as a template for synthesis of a new strand, the two daughter DNA thus produced would be identical to the parental DNA molecule. Reason: the base pairing in a dsDNA molecule is complementary to each other. Both assertion reason are the true, and reason correctly explains the assertion here. Next, in a dsDNA molecule, the percentage composition of adenine was found to be 19%. What is the expected percentage uracil in the molecule? Answer is here 0. Next one, to form a dinucleotide, two nucleotides are linked through 3:5 phosphodiester linkage. Regarding transcription, three statements are given here. First, the process of copying genetic information from one strand of the DNA and RNA is termed as transcription. Second, the principle of complementarity governs the process of transcription. And third, only a segment of DNA and only one of the strand is copied into RNA. First, second, and third all are correct here. Next one, which of the following will support the conclusion derived by Oswald Avery, Colin MacLeod, and Macklin McCarthy and DNA? That DNA caused the bacterial transformation in Griffith's experiment. Answer is yes, only second statement is correct here. That one is the digestion with DNase inhibited transformation. Digestion with DNase inhibited transformation. Next one, the UTRs in a macho eukaryotic mRNA are present at both 5 and before start codon, and at third and after stop codon. Next, RNA was the first genetic material. Which of the two given evidences support this assertion? First, essential life process such as metabolism, translation, splicing, etc. evolved around RNA. And second statement is here, RNA used to act as a genetic material as well as a catalyst. Both 1 and 2 second statements are correct here. Next one, statement first, the two strands of DNA being complementary if separated by heating come together when appropriate conditions are provided. Second statement, the presence of thymine at the place of adenine also confers additional stability to DNA. Statement 1 is correct here, statement 2 is incorrect here. Next one, the promoter in a transcription unit. Second and third statements are correct here. The promoter in a transcription unit is a DNA sequence that provides binding site for RNA polymerase, and the promoter in a transcription unit defines the template and coding strands. Next one, the mRNA codon GAG codes for the amino acid glutamic acid. Identify the correct statement regarding deoxyribonucleic acid DNA and ribonucleic acid RNA. The correct statements are here. RNA mostly functions as a messenger, and RNA functions as an adapter, structural, and in some cases as a catalytic molecule. Next, in a typical human cell, all three statements are correct here. Listen, in a typical human cell, the total number of BP in DNA present is about 6.6 into 10 to the power 9, and in a typical human cell, the total length of unwinded DNA is approximately 2.2 meters. And third, in a typical human cell, the dimension of nucleus is approximately 10 to the power 6 m, 10 to the power minus 6 m. Next one, beginning with 15N DNA. 15N is the heavy isotope of nitrogen, and after 2 rounds of replication in 14N medium, E. coli cells will contain 50% of 15N DNA and 50% 15N and 14N DNA. Next one, in 1928, Frederick Griffith, in a series of experiments with Streptococcus pneumoniae, bacterium responsible for pneumonia, discovered the process of bacterial transformation. Prior to the work of Oswald Avery, Colin MacLeod, and Macklin McCarthy, 1933 to 44, the genetic material was thought to be a protein. DNA is an acidic substance present in nucleus, was first identified by Frederick Meissner. Next one, there is a convention in defining the two strands of the DNA in the structural gene of transcription unit where the strand which has the polarity 3 to 3 to 5 acts as a template and is also referred to as template strand. And where second statement, where the strand which has the polarity 5 to 3 and does not code for anything is referred to as the coding strand. Next one, consider the given assertion. Reason is here. Assertion: repetitive satellite DNA sequence are very useful identification tools in forensic application. Reason: these sequences normally do not code for any proteins, but they form a large portion of human genome. Both assertion and reason are true, but reason does not correctly explain the assertion here. Next one, the technique of DNA fingerprinting was initially developed by Alec Jeffrey. Next one, in DNA fingerprints involving southern blot hybridization using radio-labeled VNTR as a probe. The correct chronology of steps between isolation of DNA, first step, and detection of hybridized DNA fragments by autoradiography, last step is, listen, digestion of DNA by restriction endonucleases, then separation of DNA fragments by electrophoresis, then transferring blotting of separated DNA fragments to synthetic membranes such as nitrocellulose and or nylon, and then hybridization using labeled VNTR probe. Next one is assertion. Reason. Assertion: although there are 3 alleles for the ABO blood group types in humans, an individual is expected to carry only 2 of any such alleles. As reason: to study multiple allelism, the geneticist must study the population and not an individual. Both A and R are true here, but R is not the correct explanation of A is here. Next assertion. Reason. Assertion: in a typical test cross, an organism showing a dominant phenotype and whose genotype is to be determined is crossed with the organism showing recessive phenotype. Reason: there is no need to carry out a test cross to determine the genotype of an organism showing the recessive phenotype. Here answer: both A and R are true here, but R is not the correct explanation of A here. Next one, the VNTR belongs to a class of satellite DNAs and is referred to as mini satellite. Next assertion. Reason. Assertion: when 2 pairs of traits are combined in a hybrid, segregation of one pair of characters is independent of the other pair of characters. Reason: during gamete formation, the alleles for each gene segregate from each other. A and R are true here, but R is not the correct explanation of A here. Next assertion. Reason. Assertion: in a dissimilar situation, the chance of a gamete receiving the dominant allele of a given gene is much higher than receiving the recessive allele. Reason: recessive alleles are always present in less number than a dominant allele in the gene pool. A is false here and R is also false here. Means A and R both are false here. Next, consider the given 2 statement. Once again, assertion is an assertion. The recessive parental trait is expressed without any blending in the F2 generation in a monohybrid cross. Reason: the recessive trait expresses itself only in the homozygous condition. A and R are true here, but R is not the correct explanation of A is here. Next, consider next assertion. Reason. Assertion: law of segregation is also called as the law of purity of gametes. Reason: when the plants produces gametes, by the process of meiosis, the alleles of the gene separate or segregate from each other and only one allele is transmitted to a gamete. A and R are true here and R is not the correct explanation. R is the correct explanation of A. R is the correct explanation of the A. Listen once again, which I have read earlier. Assertion: the recessive parental trait is expressed without any blending in the F2 generation in a monohybrid cross. Reason: the recessive trait expresses itself only in the homozygous condition. A and R are true here. R is the correct explanation of A. R is the correct explanation of the A is here. Listen one more here. Next assertion is an assertion: pea plants that are heterozygous for the gene for starch synthesis produces seeds that are intermediate in size. Reason: if a starch grain size is considered as the phenotype, then from this angle the alleles show incomplete dominance. Both A and R are true here, and R is the correct explanation of A is here. Next one, if variations arising due to mutation need to spread to the other members of population, the mutation arises in germ cells and the mutation does not seriously impair individuals' ability to have offspring who can transmit the mutation. Next assertion reason. Assertion, Mendel selected true breeding plants as parentals in his artificial hybridization experiments. Reason, a true breeding line is one that, having undergone continuous self-pollination, shows the stable trait inheritance and expression for several generations. Both A and R are true here, but R is not the correct explanation of A is here. Next, allelic sequence variation are traditionally been described as a DNA polymorphism if more than one variant allele at a locus occurs in human population with a frequency greater than, answer is 0.01, or you can say 0.01. Next assertion reason, in the monohybrid cross experiments on garden pea, Mendel found that the F1 always resembled either one of the parents and that the trait of the other parent was not seen in them. Reason, there are blending of the unit factors in F1 plants. A is true here and R is false here. Assertion reason, assertion, dominance is not an autonomous feature of a gene or the product that it has information for. Reason, not all genes code for proteins. Both A and R are true and R is not the correct explanation of A. Assertion reason, in England before industrialization set in, it was observed that there were more white-winged moths on trees than dark wings or melanized moths. Reason, melanic form arose from a mutation only after the onset of industrial revolution. A is true here but R is false here. Next assertion reason, assertion, when two genes in a dihybrid cross were situated on the same chromosome, the proportion of parental gene combination were much higher than the non-parental type. Reason, the strength of a linkage between genes located on the same chromosome is directly proportional to the distance between them. Answer is here, A is true and R is false here. A is true, R is false here. Next assertion reason, a neuploidy is the presence of an abnormal number of chromosome in a cell where the change number is not an exact multiple of the same number of the base number. Reason, a neuploidy originates during cell division when the chromosomes do not separate properly between the two cells or non-disjunction. A and R are true here and R is the correct explanation of A is here. Clear? Next one, assertion, the underlying mechanism of pleiotrophy in most cases is the effect of a gene on metabolic pathways which contribute towards different phenotypes. Reason, pleiotrophy occurs when one gene influences two or more seemingly unrelated phenotypic traits. Both A and R are true here and R is not the correct explanation of A here. Next assertion reason, assertion, sex-linked recessive traits are more common in females than in males of the species. Reason, since females have two X chromosomes, the chance of their getting affected by a recessive X-linked gene are higher. A is false here and R is false here. Means A and R both are false here. Next one, assertion, in humans, eggs fertilized by sperm having an X chromosome become females. Reason, in humans, eggs fertilized by sperm having Y chromosome become males. Both A and R are true here and R is not the correct explanation of A. Next assertion, pedigree analysis is used for the analysis of inheritance of genetic traits in human families. Reason, choice matings are not possible in humans and the number of progeny are also limited usually. Answer is here, both A and R are true here and R is the correct explanation of A. Next assertion, reason assertion: the father of a female affected with sex-linked dominant trait will always be affected. Reason: the sex-linked traits show crisscross inheritance. A is false here, but R is true here. Next assertion: behavior of chromosomes at the time of cell division decides the behavior of genes. Reason: chromosomes are the vehicles of the genes. A and R are true here, and R is the correct explanation of A. Next assertion: the possibility of female becoming a hemophilic is extremely rare. Reason: in hemophilia, a single protein that is a part of the cascade of protein involved in the clotting of blood is affected. Answer: A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. Next assertion: the pattern of inheritance of Mendelian disorder can be traced in a family by the pedigree analysis. Reason: Mendelian disorders are mainly determined by alteration or mutation in a single gene with complete dominance. Answer: A and R are true here, and R is the correct explanation of A. Both are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Next assertion: in humans, an individual with genotype AABBCC will be similar in complexion to an individual with genotype AABBCC. Reason: the effect of each allele is additive in polygenic inheritance. A is false here, and but R is true here. Next assertion: gynecomastia is expressed commonly in Klinefelter's syndrome. Reason: the genetic sex of individuals affected by Klinefelter syndrome is female. A is true, but R is false here. Next assertion: according to Operin, the chemical composition of the primordial environment was oxidizing, consisting of oxygen and ozone and excluding methane, ammonia, free hydrogen and water vapor. Reason: Operin of Russia proposed that the first form of life could have come from pre-existing non-living organic molecules and that formation of life was preceded by chemical evolution. Answer: A is false, but R is true here. Next assertion: reciprocal crosses carried out in Drosophila by Morgan while taking eye color as the trait under study did not yield same result. Reason: the gene for eye color in Drosophila is a Hollandric located on Y chromosome gene. A is true and R is false here once again. Next assertion: geologists use radioactive dating to estimate how long ago rocks were formed and to infer the ages of fossils contained within those rocks. Reason: radioactive atoms are trapped inside the rocks when they are formed, and afterwards they decay at a predictable rate. Answer is here. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Clear? A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Next assertion: the son of a woman who carries a gene for color blindness has a 50% chance of being colorblind. Reason: color blindness is inherited as an autosomal recessive condition in humans. A is true and R is false here. Next assertion: in grasshopper, the male have an odd number and female have an even number of chromosomes. Reason: male develops parthenogenetically in grasshoppers. A is true and R is false here once again. Consider next assertion: Ernst Haeckel's proposal for embryological support for evolution was disappeared by Carl Ernst von Baer. Reason: Carl Ernst von Baer noted that embryos pass through the adult stage of other animals. A is true and R is false here once again here. Next assertion: patients of phenylketonuria can show mental retardation. Reason: phenylpyruvic acid can get accumulated in the brain of the patient suffering from phenylketonuria. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A here. Next assertion: regarding Down syndrome, parents of the affected individuals are usually genetically normal. Reason: the probability increases from low in 20-year-old mothers to higher in those of age 45. Both A and R are true here, and R is not the correct explanation of A. Next assertion: although Mendel published his work on inheritance of characters in 1865, but it remained unrecognized till 1900. Reason: in 1900, three scientists, Avery, MacLeod, McCarthy, independently rediscovered Mendel's result on the inheritance of characters. A is true here, but R is false here. Clear? A is true and R is false here. Next assertion. Forelimbs in mammals have varying functions but are all homologous. Reason: the forelimbs of vertebrates are homologous. A and R are true here and R is the correct explanation of A here. Next assertion. Light chains can be used as industrial pollution indicators. Reason: light chains grow profusely in polluted areas. A is true and R is false here. Next assertion. A simple treatment for children suffering from phenylketonuria can be diet restriction. Reason: phenylalanine is an essential amino acid. Both A and R are true here and R is the correct explanation of A. R is the correct explanation of A. Next assertion. There is a change in the shape of the RBC from biconcave disc to elongated sickle-like structure, sickle cell anemia under certain conditions. Reason: the mutant hemoglobin molecule undergoes polymerization under low oxygen tension. Answer: both A and R are true here and R is the correct explanation of A. Next assertion. Existing living forms share similarities to varying degrees not only among themselves but also with life forms that existed millions of years ago. Reason: the diversity was always the same since creation and will be the same in future also. A is true and R is false here. Next assertion. The physical basis for segregation is the splitting of centromeres during anaphase 1 of meiosis 1. Reason: at anaphase 1, the sister chromatids separate and move towards opposite poles. A is false here and R is also false here. A and R both are false here. Next assertion. Unlike sickle cell anemia, thalassemia is essentially a quantitative disorder with respect to production of hemoglobin in affected individuals. Reason: the defect could be due to either mutation or deletion, which ultimately result in reduced rate of synthesis of one of the globin chains, alpha and beta chains that make up hemoglobin. Both A and R are true here and R is the correct explanation of A here. Next assertion. Morgan found the use of Drosophila melanogaster as very convenient for his studies. Reason: Morgan was studying mutation and Drosophila melanogaster is haploid and expresses all mutations. A is true here and R is false here. The assertion is true and reason is false here. Next assertion. Analogous structures are a result of divergent evolution. Reason: analogous structures evolve for the same function and hence have structural similarities. A is false here and R is true here. Next assertion. If a couple have a female child from the first pregnancy, they will have a male child from the next pregnancy. Reason: in each pregnancy there is always 50% probability of either a male or a female child. A is false here but R is true here. Next assertion. UV radiations can cause mutations in organisms. It is a mutagen. Reason: UV radiations are ionizing radiations. A is true and R is false here. Next assertion. The fitness according to Darwin refers ultimately and only to reproductive fitness. Reason: those who are better fit in an environment leave more progeny than others. Both A and R are true here and R is the correct explanation of A. Next assertion. When we look at stars on a clear night sky, we are in a way looking back in time. Reason: when we see objects in our immediate surroundings, we see them instantly and hence in the present time. Both A and R are true but R is not the correct explanation of A here. Next assertion. Vestigial structures can be considered evidence for evolution. Reason: vestigial structures are often homologous to structures that are functioning normally in other species. A and R are true here and R is the correct explanation of A here. Next assertion. Natural selection is the different survival and reproduction of individuals due to differences in phenotype. Reason: natural selection is a key mechanism of evolution. Both A and R are true here, but R is not the correct explanation of A. Next assertion: Darwin's finches represent one of the best examples of adaptive radiation. Reason: Darwin's finches are derived from a single ancestor that arrived in the Galapagos from mainland South America. A and R are true here, and R is the correct explanation of A. Next assertion: evolution is a stochastic process. Evolution is based on chance events in nature and chance mutation in the organism. A and R are true here, and R is the correct explanation of A. Next assertion: the wings of insects and birds are analogous. Reason: the wings of insects and birds evolved independently in widely separated groups and converged functionally to support powered flight. Both A and R are true here, and R is the correct explanation of A. Next assertion: giraffes in an attempt to forage leaves on tall trees had to adapt by elongation of their necks. Reason: this elongated neck, an acquired trait, was inherited by their progeny. A is false here and R is false here. Means A and R both are false here. Next assertion: pollen is one part of the plant that is more likely to be preserved as fossil. Reason: pollen in tine is made of sporopollenin, one of the most chemically inert biological polymers. A is true and R is false here. Next assertion: evolution by natural selection in a true sense would have started when cellular forms of life with differences in metabolic capability originated on Earth. Reason: natural selection is the differential survival and reproduction of individuals due to differences in phenotype. A and R are true here, and R is the correct explanation of A here. Next, the probability that recombination crossing over takes place between two genes located on the same chromosome is proportional to the distance between the two genes. Next assertion: similarities in proteins and genes performing a given functions among diverse organisms give clues to common ancestry. Reason: in general, the more DNA differences in homologous genes or amino acid differences in the proteins they encode between two species, the more closely the species are related and they share a more recent ancestor. A is true here and R is false here. Next assertion: pest species evolve pesticide resistance via natural selection. Reason: after exposure to pesticides, some pests develop mutation that enables them to survive and leave progeny. A is true and R is false here. Next assertion: there must be a genetic basis for getting selected and to evolve. Reason: natural selection is most often defined to operate on heritable traits. A is false here and R is true here. Assertion is false, reason is true here. Next assertion: DNA is better than RNA for storage of genetic information. Reason: RNA is incapable of replication. A is true here and R is false here once again here. Next assertion: Louis Pasteur in his experiment showed that in pre-sterilized flasks, life did not come from killed yeast, while in another flask open to air, new living organisms arose from killed yeast. Reason: life comes only from pre-existing life. Both A and R are true here, and R is the correct explanation of A. Next assertion: almost all fossils are preserved in sedimentary rock. Reason: sedimentary rocks are types of rocks that are formed by the accumulation or deposition of mineral or organic particles at Earth's surface, followed by cementation. Both A and R are true here, and R is not the correct explanation of A. That's all.